Hello everyone, I'm Rebecca Keppel. Today's video is a new episode of my favorite series, New and Must-Have Crafty Supplies. For these videos, I go hunting for some of the new supplies that I'd like to try out. I share how it went with you, and then you get to see them up close and personal to decide if there's something that you would like to try out as well. For today's video, I have the latest Distress color that came out recently from Tim Holtz Ranger, Prize Ribbon, and I have it in a few formats. I'll share how it compares to several of the other dark blues, and I'll use it in a few cards as well. I also have some stamps and dies and a 3D embossing folder from Altenew. I have a super cute die set from iCrafter that was designed by Lori Whitlock, and I grabbed a little pack of tiny enamel stars. To start out, let's just check out these new supplies. Let's first take a look at the new Prize Ribbon. So these are the items that I pre-ordered from Simon Says Stamp. I ordered the Distress Oxide Ink, the Distress Oxide Refill, and the Distress Paint. I've been using the paints a lot with the gel press, so I wanted to have the new color in the paint as well. Once I saw what the color was, I did order a few more things. I ordered the Distress Oxide Spray and the Distress Emboss Glaze. So that is everything that I own, and I wanted to share how the ink, the Distress Oxide ink, compares to some of the other dark blues. And I am so sorry about my voice right now. I am still getting over a really horrible cold, so I will do the best I can to keep talking through this whole video. Okay, so I am using one of the stamps from the Altenew stamp set. It's a large heart that I thought would be perfect to swatch out these different colors. So on the left, I have the new color Prize Ribbon, then Blueprint Sketch, Faded Jeans, and then Chipped Sapphire. And you know, I always like to also blend them out to see the difference in the blend as well. Now, you have to give this a little time to dry back because these colors do dry differently than when they first originally stamp. So right now it looks like maybe Blueprint Sketch is the closest, but once it dries, you can see that there's this kind of purpley look to Blueprint Sketch that is not in Prize Ribbon. So as always, they have found a way to create a new color to add to this collection that I absolutely adore. This is a great blue, and I am super excited that I was able to grab all these different elements. So I did want to share the Emboss Glaze. First, I'm going to use embossing ink, and I'm stamping on some white paper. And I'm going to cover the embossing ink with the Emboss Glaze. So the thing about the glaze is that it's a translucent embossing powder, so you can see when you heat set it that there is some of the white showing through, that you get kind of this very translucent or like almost stained glass look to the heart. But if you stamp first with the color of ink, so I'm going to stamp with the Distress Oxide Prize Ribbon, and then I'm going to use the Emboss Glaze over that. And wait until you see you get a totally different look, which is why I really love Tim Holtz's products. They really have so many different ways that you can use them. He's always recommending just do what you love, try things out, but just check this out. So on the left is just with embossing ink, and on the right is with the Prize Ribbon ink. And look at that difference. It's absolutely unbelievable how amazing it looks both ways, but I really love that rich look on the right with the ink stamped and then the embossed glaze on top. It really just depends on what the look you're going for is. Okay, this is the Altenew Illusion Triangles 3D embossing folder. I embossed a white piece of cardstock, and I'm going to do one of my favorite things is to ink blend over that embossed cardstock. I will link down below to some of my embossing folder videos. I share tons of ideas on how to use embossing folders, and this is just one of them. I'm using the domed foam blender and the Prize Ribbon Distress Oxide ink over those illusion triangles, and I absolutely adore it. The other thing I love to do is to emboss metallic cardstock, so I did emboss this silver metallic from Pink and Maine. I forgot to mention in the intro that I also grabbed this background stamp from Simon Says Stamp. It's called on the ground. It's different strips of a cling mounted stamp that create different ground effects. So I took the foam pad out of my MISTI. Since we're using a cling mounted stamp, you don't need that foam pad. And I am going to ink up this floor with some Stamp Market black ink to get a really great black impression. And I love this. So I'm going to stamp all the different floor designs out for you. This one is a grass, and there's lots of details here, so I am using my Debbie tool to get good pressure on the MISTI, and I do still stamp it 2, maybe 3 times depending. I think 2 was good for this one, but look at how cute that grass is. Absolutely adorable. And I love that you get all these different effects in one background stamp. Here's a bunch of little river stones. I also grabbed these Julie Hickey Designs Glossies Small Stars. They're like little enamel stars. And the Altenew Vintage Vibes stamp set. You've seen in some of my past new and must-have crafty supplies videos. I love these vintage designs. I have a couple from Sugar Pea Designs as well, but I love these from Altenew, the little television and the skate. The brilliant thing about the Altenew packaging is not only do they give you a couple of card idea designs, they also give you the instructions for the layering stamps, and they even give you ideas for ink colors for their line. So now I don't have a whole collection of Altenew inks, but at least it gives you an idea of what colors might work really well if you want to just follow along their instructions. So I started with the skate here, and I started with black ink and then some slate for that little piece underneath the skate. These are pretty easy to line up, I have to say. Like you can see the wheels were very easy to line up around kind of those spokes in the middle there. And I'm using just a mishmash of different inks. I am using some Distress Oxides and also some Stamp Market inks. For the boot here of the skate, I am going to use the prize ribbon. I am really in love with this blue, and I'll be using it quite a bit. Every time a new color comes out, I think it's my favorite for a while until the next one comes out. So I will definitely be looking into whatever the next color is as well. Okay, so again, really easy to line up. You can see they put the little laces on the skate there so you could see exactly where to put that part of the boot. Now for the kind of heel or background on the skate, you can either choose a rainbow or a flower, or you could just stamp it somehow whole. I guess if you stamped all the rainbow rays one color, it would look like the skate was all one color as well. So I chose the rainbow. You knew I would. And I am using my favorite rainbow of Distress Oxide Inks to create, let's see, I have Kitsch Flamingo and then Wild Honey, Squeezed Lemonade, and I think I went with Cracked Pistachio this time for the green. How cute is that skate? Now I'm going to be using Salvaged Patina. We're going to work on the TV, and I'm going to make a very fun kind of retro diner vibe with the colors here. So I did stamp the outside of the TV in Salvaged Patina, and then I'm using some black soot. The large heart fits right inside that TV screen there. I did stamp that in Hickory Smoke Distress Oxide ink, and then used the prize ribbon for all the details like the little feet on the TV stand and the antennas. There's a couple little buttons that you can stamp as well. So these, again, very easy to line up. I had no problems figuring out where everything went. The last product I want to share is the iCrafter, designed by Lori Whitlock, mason jar box card die, and I'm going to show you how to put it together. Now that you've seen the new supplies, let's use them to make some cards. For the mason jar box card die, basically you're going to cut out 2 of almost everything. You're going to cut out 2 of the jar, 2 of the lid, 2 of the sides, and 2 of the little dividers inside the jar. And you'll see what I mean as we go along. I'm going to decorate the front of the jar by using a little prize ribbon to ink blend on the outside, and I stamped the I love you sentiment from that Altenew stamp set on the outside as well. I adhered the jar lid, which I cut out of some foil cardstock, and I am going to adhere some flowers that were popped up as well. For the flowers and the leaves, I just cut out a whole bunch in several different colors of Stamp Market cardstock. These are the little kind of shelves in between the jar that are going to hold all the things that are popping up. You can see that both the dividers in the inside and the sides of the jar have little tabs. So I like to fold everything down, put a little bit of tape runner or some type of tacky tape to those little folds so that you can easily adhere everything together. So I have the one piece of the jar and I am putting the side on. They go sort of vertically, so it's longer vertically than it is horizontally. And then these little dividers just go inside, just space them out a little bit so that you have room to have dimension, something in front of the other thing. And then the other piece of the jar just goes on the back of that little tab in the center. You cut it twice so that you can do the other side, and that will create the box. It was a little tricky to figure out how to get all three pieces kind of adhered together and nice and straight, so just kind of play around with it. That's why I like to put all the tape or adhesive on it first, so then I can just kind of fold it up and put everything together, and then if something isn't perfectly straight, I can always move it around. When I'm ready to really press it down, then it will totally adhere. I'm going to use some Ultra Bond liquid glue to adhere everything on the inside because I really want it to stay, and I'm afraid with them sticking out, there's more chance of them getting knocked around and things like that. So I think tape runner would not stick as well on these pieces, but you could try it. I am also going to adhere some of the large flowers onto some of those smaller leaves. That's going to make it easy for me to have them adhered into the box card and still sticking out at the top. And at this point, it's kind of like floral arranging, which honestly I'm not very good at, but you sort of want a mix of colors, a mix of sizes, and then just have some fun adhering things down. You can't really go wrong here. It just looks cute because it's all kind of popping out of this little mason jar. You could also put glue on the front of these die cuts rather than the back and adhere them to the back of the little shelf rather than the front. And that will give you another option of more dimension and just looks so cute with all of them just popping out there. Felt like it needed another large flower, and I'm just trying to figure out where in the world I'm going to put it, but I did the same kind of thing of putting the adhesive on the front and then adhering it to the back. This way you get these two rows, but also all these extra layers of flowers and leaves. To add the roller skate to the card, I thought that black and white ground was perfect for a roller skating rink. So I am going to use one of the sentiments from the stamp set. I just put the skate in there to see where I would stamp the sentiment, and I am going to use the prize ribbon. Remember that Distress Oxide can stamp sentiments very well. I love the way they stamp sentiments. They are technically a technique ink, but they do stamp beautifully as well. So I have let the good times roll there. I did cut a strip of the embossed silver metallic cardstock down so that I could put kind of like a fun mirror on the wall there. And then I'm gonna pop up the skate on some foam tape, and I just absolutely adore this vintage look between the floor and kind of that fun effect in the mirror cardstock. I think it all just really goes together really well, even though it's, some different companies. And I did add some of the Julie Hickey Designs stars. I thought they were perfect around the sentiment as well. For the TV, I am going to create like a vintage linoleum floor. I thought that would be perfect. So I am going to stamp a different ground from the Simon Says stamp on the ground stamp with the prize ribbon ink. And I'm going to really make this nice and inked up so that I can get a great impression the first time, because with those little thin lines, if you try to stamp it a couple of times, you might have it just slightly off and then it will cover up the lines, and that's a drag. So once I did that, I am going to cover it with the embossing glaze. I thought that would make it look even more kind of like that linoleum, and I'm going to heat set that so that it is a little bit shiny. And I, again, just love the way the embossing glaze looks over the same color of Distress Oxide ink. This time I'm going to use the embossed background with the ink blending on top. And again, it just does still have this sort of vintage vibe to it, which I think is perfect. I'm going to put this whole panel down on some Gina K silver cardstock, and then I'm going to pop up my TV on the left-hand side of the card. I am going to use the prize ribbon ink to stamp another sentiment from that stamp set that says "You're a classic," and pop that up onto the right-hand side, and then it's time to add some of those stars. I did think that those stars were perfect to go along with the prize ribbon ink, and just a few stars on the TV as well completes this card. I hope you loved seeing my new favorite crafty supplies this month. I always really enjoy hearing what was your favorite out of my picks, so let me know in the comments below. If you missed my last month's new and must-have crafty supplies video, I'm going to link to that over here for you. As always, I want to thank you so much for spending time with me today. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you again soon. Yeah, stay healthy because I'm not healthy right now. I'm sure you can hear that. Oh boy, well, you know, back to school means back to germs. Yay!